Despite low grades early in life, Dr. Benjamin Carson is now referred to as a miracle worker of modern medicine. As director of pediatric neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins Hospital, his research and treatment received worldwide recognition. This is Malcolm Jamal Warner celebrating the African American contribution.
The first African-American woman in space, Dr. Mae Jameson, was a medical officer in the Peace Corps in Sierra Leone and Liberia, West Africa. She joined NASA as an astronaut in 1987.
A pioneer in blood collection and transfusion, Dr. Charles Richard Drew's revolutionary methods saved thousands of lives during World War II, a time when donated blood was still segregated by race. Railroad inspectors around the country knew the name of inventor Elijah McCoy. The automatic lubricating device he'd invented was always stamped the real McCoy.
The grandson of a slave, John Buck O'Neill believes he played baseball at just the right time to pave the way for players like Jackie Robinson. The first black coach in the major leagues has been around the diamond for 6 decades. This is Malcolm Jamal Warner celebrating the African American contribution. Star of stage, film, radio, and television for over 50 years, Lena Horne went to Hollywood in the 30s to combat black stereotypes in film. In the 80s, she captivated audiences with the longest-running one-woman show on Broadway. This is Malcolm Jamal Warner celebrating the African American contribution.
While most 5-year-olds were swinging on swings, Malavi Washington was swinging his tennis racket. Turning pro in 1989, Malavi is the highest-ranking African-American male tennis player since Arthur Ashe.
When her parents couldn't afford lessons, Marian Anderson's church raised the money for her to study voice. In 1955, she was the first African-American singer at New York's Metropolitan Opera.
Already at sea at 13, Matthew Henson was one of the most experienced members of Admiral Peary's 1909 North Pole expedition, but it wasn't until long after his death that he received recognition for the journey. This is Malcolm Jamal Warner celebrating the African American contribution. Daughter of the first black research chemist in the tire industry, Rita Dove is the youngest and first African-American poet laureate of the United States. In 1987, she received a Pulitzer Prize for her collection of poems, Thomas and Beulah. This is Malcolm Jamal Warner celebrating the African-American contribution.
As a nursery school teacher, she saw the need for adequate daycare in her native Brooklyn. Resolved to provide that and more, Shirley Chisholm was the first African-American congresswoman.
The top-ranking African-American ever to serve in Congress, William Gray III, went on to lead the United Negro College Fund in 1991. In just 3 years, he raised close to 1/3 of the nearly $1 billion in contributions. This is Malcolm Jamal Warner celebrating the African American contribution.
His retirement ambition was to build radio-controlled model airplanes. His real-life dream was to become a pilot. Celebrating a 30-year career, Captain William Norwood became the first African-American pilot for United Airlines.